My name is Serena Holloway. I'm 35 years old, born and raised in Houston, Texas, and until a few months ago, I believed I was living the kind of life most women prayed for. A loving husband, 2 beautiful children, a nice home in a quiet neighborhood, a marriage built on trust. Or at least that's what I thought. Everything changed because of a single phone call. A phone call that came at 3:14 a.m. A phone call that tore the truth out of the shadows and ripped my heart out with it. That night, I wasn't expecting anything unusual. Elijah, my husband, had gotten home late, like he often did these days. He showered, kissed me on the forehead, said he was exhausted, and fell asleep before I even finished turning off the light. I remember lying there next to him, watching the steady rise and fall of his chest, thinking about how grateful I was, how blessed. I used to pray for a man like him, a provider, a father, a husband with a smile that made strangers compliment me for bagging a good one. But God, I didn't know I was lying next to a stranger. So when his phone buzzed on the nightstand, I reached for it before I could think. I didn't even know why. It wasn't something I normally did, but something in my spirit, maybe intuition, maybe God himself, told me to answer. The screen showed unknown caller. I pressed the green button. "Hello?" I whispered. There was a pause. Then a woman's voice came through, sharp, angry, trembling. She said 5 words that froze every muscle in my body. "Put my husband on the phone." For a moment I couldn't speak. I thought she had the wrong number. I thought this was some kind of prank. I even looked at Elijah sleeping peacefully next to me, as if making sure he was actually there. I think you dialed the wrong number," I whispered. The woman laughed, not a soft laugh, a broken, bitter laugh that sounded like betrayal shaped into sound. "Oh no," she said. "I'm exactly where I meant to call. I'm looking for Elijah Ward, and I'm his wife." Wife. The word hit me like a punch to the chest. My breath stopped, my thoughts stopped, time stopped. I slipped quietly out of bed, clutching the phone like it was burning my hand, and walked into the hallway. "What did you just say?" I asked. "You heard me," she snapped. "My name is Camille Turner. I've been married to Elijah for almost 3 years. We have a toddler together, and I just found your number saved in his phone. So, who the hell are you?" My legs nearly gave out. Married. 3 years. A child. My voice barely came out. "I'm Serena. I'm his wife." There was silence. A long, heavy silence filled with shock, pain, and recognition, the kind only betrayal can create. Then Camille whispered, "That can't be true. Elijah told me he'd never been married before." My eyes filled with tears. "Well," I said, "I've been married to him for 8 years, and we have 2 kids." We both broke down. 2 grown women in 2 different states, crying quietly through a phone neither of us should have been touching at that hour. Everything suddenly made sense. The business trips, the late nights, the new clothes, the sudden obsession with keeping his phone face down, the red flags I ignored because I believed in a man who wasn't real. "Elijah said he travels to Houston for work," Camille said, sobbing. "I'm in Memphis. He told me he had a promotion coming." A cold, sick feeling washed over me. "When he's traveling," I whispered, "he's with you." "And when he's with you," she whispered back, "he tells me he's in Atlanta or Dallas for conferences." We were both living in a lie built by the same man. A double life, a double marriage, a double betrayal. I slid down the wall, sitting on the floor of my hallway in the dark, trying not to scream, but Camille wasn't done. "There's something else," she said shakily. "I noticed late-night texts from someone named Jasmine. When I asked, he said she was just a coworker, but now I don't know." My stomach twisted. "Elijah never mentioned a Jasmine to me," I said. We both went silent. Then the truth settled between us. There was a 3rd woman. A woman in Birmingham, Alabama, according to Camille. A woman who probably thought he was her faithful boyfriend. A woman who had no idea she was sharing him with 2 wives, 3 women, 3 states, 3 lives Elijah was managing like some twisted full-time job. By the time the sun started rising, Camille and I had been talking for hours, comparing lies, comparing timelines, comparing the exact moments our lives overlapped and we didn't even know. "Elijah's been playing all of us," she whispered. "Yes," I said, "and it ends now." Before we hung up, she said, "Don't confront him yet. Not until we gather everything. We're going to make him pay for this." I wiped my tears and looked toward my bedroom, where Elijah still slept peacefully, like the world wasn't burning. "Okay," I said. "I can pretend. For as long as it takes." Because now? I wasn't just heartbroken. I was angry. I was focused, and I wasn't going to let him get away with destroying 3 women's lives. Not without consequences. This was the beginning. The night my world cracked open. The night I stopped being naive Serena and became the woman who would bring Elijah Ward's empire of lies crashing down. For the next few days, I moved through my life in a fog, smiling when I needed to smile, cooking dinner for the kids, pretending everything was normal while carrying a secret big enough to split my home in half. Every time Elijah kissed me goodbye, every time he wrapped his arms around me at night, every time he laughed with our children, my stomach twisted. I wanted to scream. I wanted to confront him right then and there. I wanted to look him in the face and demand the truth. But Camille was right. We needed proof. Not guesses, not feelings, not suspicion. Evidence. Cold, solid, unshakable evidence. Because Elijah was a smooth liar, the kind of man who could charm a pastor into believing the devil was misunderstood, and I wasn't giving him a single inch of room to manipulate me ever again. So I played my part. For a week straight, I acted like the same loving wife I'd always been. I kissed him goodnight. I packed his lunch. I asked about his day. I made him feel safe. Because a man will always show his true face when he thinks you don't know better. And Elijah? He was comfortable. Too comfortable. But I watched him now. Every movement, every habit, every word. Things I used to ignore became clues. He kept his phone on silent. He showered with it on the bathroom counter. He slept with it under his pillow sometimes, something he never used to do. He was unraveling, and he didn't even know it. A few nights after the phone call, Elijah fell asleep on the couch. That man could sleep through a tornado, so when his phone lit up and vibrated, I knew he wouldn't notice. I grabbed it. The lock screen had changed again. New passcode. Of course, but Elijah wasn't smart enough to change the basics, and I knew his patterns, so I tried. His birthday, his mother's birthday, our anniversary, our daughter's birthday, his favorite football player's jersey number. Nothing worked. Then I tried something desperate. I typed in the age of our youngest child. 5555, unlocked. My whole body went cold. On his screen were 9 missed messages from Jasmine and 2 from Camille. I clicked Camille's first. Her last text read, "Are you still coming to Memphis Friday? You said you'd be here by 6. My hands shook as I scrolled. Jasmine's messages were worse. "Elijah, you haven't called me back. Are you still coming to Birmingham tonight? You said we were celebrating this weekend. I miss you. Please don't disappear on me again." I nearly dropped the phone. He was promising weekends to both of them. Meanwhile, he promised me that Friday night we were going to have a family movie night. This man had no shame. I took pictures of everything. Texts, call logs, hotel confirmations, flight receipts, a restaurant reservation in Memphis for 2. I sent every screenshot to a hidden folder on my laptop. Then I emailed them to a secret email address I created under another name. At this point, I would have tattooed the evidence on my body if it meant he couldn't erase it. The next morning, I called Camille. The second she answered, I said, "We need to meet in person." She agreed immediately. We chose a day Elijah was supposed to be traveling for work. Spoiler, he wasn't going to work. He was planning to spend the night in Memphis. We met halfway, at a crowded breakfast spot in Shreveport, Louisiana. 2 women who should have been enemies. But instead, we were allies. And the moment I saw her step out of her car, I felt something shift. She wasn't what I expected. She was beautiful, yes, brown skin glowing, natural curls pulled into a bun, but she looked exhausted, broken, like someone who hadn't slept in days. We hugged, not awkwardly, not timidly, but like two people who had been drowning and finally reached land. Over pancakes and coffee, we put our lives on the table. Elijah had copied and pasted the same lies into both our worlds, same excuses, same compliments, same promises, same script. It was almost insulting, like he didn't think either of us was smart enough to compare notes, but we were, and we were getting smarter by the hour. Camille said, "He told me he travels to Houston for regional meetings. That's why I never questioned the distance." I laughed bitterly. "Well, he's not lying about traveling, just about why." She nodded. Then her voice cracked. "I feel so stupid." I reached across the table and grabbed her hand. "Don't. He's the one who should be ashamed, not you." We talked for 4 hours. She showed me receipts, photos, emails, hotel stays, gifts. He bought dates they went on. Meanwhile, I showed her everything I found, and that's when Camille said something that made my entire body go cold. "Serena, there's more. I found a charge last month for a jewelry store in Birmingham. I thought it was for me, but now I think he bought Jasmine something." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. "So he's spoiling the girlfriend now?" Camille nodded. "He's spoiling all of us, with money that isn't even his half the time." That's when she told me, "Elijah has been using his company's credit card for personal trips, and not small ones." My eyes widened. That wasn't just lies. That was corporate fraud. A felony. A career-ending crime. "Elijah Ward," I whispered, "you really messed with the wrong women." On the drive home from Shreveport, I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. My eyes weren't the eyes of a broken woman anymore. They were the eyes of a woman waking up. A woman done crying. A woman choosing revenge over heartbreak. The kind of revenge that wasn't loud, but devastating. I whispered to myself, "He wants to live 3 lives? I'll end all 3. For the next week, Camille and I built our case. Every lie, every receipt, every message, every unexplained charge, every business trip, every missed holiday. We built a timeline so tight that no lawyer on earth could twist it. We were preparing for war, a war against the man who thought we'd never find each other, the man who underestimated 2 black women, twice. By the end of that week, I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't confused. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't weak. I was ready. Because once a woman sees the truth, once she wipes her tears and stands back up, there is nothing more dangerous than her. For the next few weeks, my entire life became an undercover operation. During the day, I played the role Elijah expected, the loving wife, the supportive mother, the woman who never questioned anything. But at night, I became something else entirely, focused, cold, strategic. I wasn't just gathering evidence anymore, I was studying him. Because you can't take down a man like Elijah without knowing his moves better than he knows them himself, and Elijah was more predictable than he thought. One Friday evening, right before one of his work trips, Elijah came home wearing a smile I had seen 1,000 times, the guilt smile. He tried to hide it behind a kiss on my cheek, but I recognized it instantly. He was leaving for Memphis. He was going to Camille. He had no idea Camille and I had spoken every single day that week. He had no idea she was tracking his schedule with me. He had no idea I had every hotel confirmation, every flight receipt, every lie documented. So when he said, "Serena, baby, I'll be back Sunday. Big project deadline," I smiled sweetly and said, "Of course. I'm proud of you." Inside, I wanted to spit in his face, but you don't ruin a trap by springing it too early. You wait. You watch. You let the prey walk willingly into the cage. Before leaving, Elijah went upstairs to shower. He took his phone with him like always. But for once, he didn't lock his home screen manually. A notification popped up, a preview, from Jasmine. "Can't wait for tonight, I got the wine you like." My blood went cold. He wasn't going to Memphis first. He was going to Birmingham, to Jasmine. I took a photo of the message, then another, And that was the moment I knew. This wasn't about love for him. This wasn't even about passion. This was addiction. Elijah was addicted to attention, to validation, to being wanted. He wasn't a man living a double life. He was a man living a triple fantasy, and fantasies break faster than lies. The night he left, I opened our joint online banking account. I don't even know why I checked. Maybe I was bored. Maybe I was angry. Maybe I was praying for a reason to break something in the house without feeling guilty. But when the account loaded, my chest got tight. There were new charges: gas station in Beaumont, jewelry store in Birmingham, hotel in Memphis, a restaurant in Atlanta the night before, when he swore he was working late at the office, and one charge that made me sit up straight. Birmingham Fine Jewelers, $2,147. He bought Jasmine jewelry, expensive jewelry. While I was budgeting our groceries, I screenshot everything, every charge, every timestamp, every location. Then I forwarded it all to Camille. She called me within minutes. Her voice was shaking. "He bought her jewelry," she whispered, "and last month he charged a bracelet from Memphis and told me it was for his mother." I closed my eyes. Elijah doesn't even talk to his mother. We stayed silent for a long time. Two women staring at the truth. Elijah wasn't cheating because he was unhappy. He wasn't cheating because he fell out of love. He was cheating because he liked playing God, crafting worlds, controlling emotions, keeping women competing without knowing they were even in the same race. This was psychological. He wasn't a broken man. He was a dangerous one. It took Camille and me 3 weeks to build the perfect plan. We needed a confrontation, evidence printed, and ready witnesses, if needed, legal documentation, backup copies, a lawyer on standby, a safe place for the kids, and most importantly, timing. Because men like Elijah always think they're smarter than the women they hurt. They underestimate us. They assume we're emotional, irrational, weak. They never consider that a woman's anger, once fully awakened, becomes intelligence sharper than any weapon. Camille put it perfectly one night. "He thinks we'll come at him crying. Let's come at him calculating." And that became the plan. We would not yell. We would not scream. We would not give him the satisfaction of drama. We would kill him with calm. We would bury him with facts. We would destroy him with the truth he thought we'd never find. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I will never forget the date. I will never forget the sunlight through the window. I will never forget the strange sense of peace I felt. My kids were at my mother's house. Camille's child was with her sister in Memphis. Everything was ready. Camille flew in that afternoon. She texted me, "Landing now. You ready, sis?" More than ready. She arrived at my house wearing all black, hair pulled back, eyes fierce, energy steady. I looked at her and realized she wasn't broken anymore. Neither was I. We had transformed, two women who were supposed to fight each other, now standing as allies, sisters in betrayal, avengers of our own hearts. We hugged at the door, a long, strong hug. Then we laid everything out. A stack of printed bank statements, the hotel receipts, screenshots of texts, timestamps, plane tickets, corporate card charges, photos, maps, call logs, Jasmine's messages, everything. We created a timeline so perfect that even a judge would be impressed. At 6:48 p.m., Camille looked at me. "He should be home soon." I nodded. My hands were steady, my voice calm, my heart surprising quiet. Because there is a moment that comes right before a woman stands up for herself, a moment where fear disappears entirely. That was the moment I was in. At 7:03 p.m., we heard his car in the driveway. At 7:04, the front door opened. Elijah stepped inside holding flowers, gas station roses in a crinkled plastic sleeve. He called out, "Baby, Serena, I'm home." I exchanged a look with Camille. Showtime. Elijah walked into the living room with that same confident smile he always wore, the smile that used to melt me. But today, it made me sick. Then he saw Camille. His smile died instantly. His face drained of color. His jaw dropped. The flowers slipped from his hand. The liar finally saw the truth he'd been running from. He didn't say a word. For the first time in his life, Elijah Ward was speechless, and that's when I stood up, calm, cold, unbothered. "Elijah," I said quietly, "I think you know Camille." He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Nothing except fear, real, physical, fear. The kind a man feels right before the life he built on lies collapses. And that's exactly what we were about to do. Elijah stood frozen in the doorway, like his brain was buffering, trying to load a reality he never imagined he'd have to face. His voice finally cracked through the silence. "Serena." What is this?" I didn't blink. "This," I said calmly, "is your life catching up with you." Camille crossed her arms and leaned back on the sofa, watching him like she would watch a defendant in court. "Elijah," she said, her tone clipped and razor-sharp. "Surprised to see me?" He swallowed hard. "Camille, what are you doing here?" She raised an eyebrow. "The better question is, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in Memphis tonight, at least according to the lies you fed me?" His mouth opened, but nothing came out. For the first time in our marriage, I saw the real Elijah, the version he kept hidden behind all the smiles, the charm, the good man act. A coward, a manipulator, a man who never thought the truth would stand in front of him with arms crossed and evidence stacked. I picked up the thick folder we'd prepared and tossed it across the coffee table toward him. It hit his leg and spilled open. Photos, receipts, hotel bookings, text messages, call logs, screenshots, everything. Pages scattered across the floor like confetti at a parade celebrating his downfall. Elijah looked down, eyes darting wildly. He bent, shaking, picking up a few pages. "What is this supposed to prove?" he whispered. Camille laughed, dry, humorless. "It proves exactly what you think it does." He skimmed through the papers, his own words staring back at him, his texts to me, his texts to Camille, his texts to Jasmine, hotel stays, 2 cities in the same week, charges from restaurants in Birmingham and Memphis. On nights he told me he was working late. His hands began to tremble. "Elijah," I said quietly, "how long were you planning to juggle 3 women, 3 households, 3 lives?" He looked up at me, eyes wild. "It's not what it looks like." I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because men like Elijah always reach for the same tired line, even when the evidence is literally choking them. Camille leaned forward. "Oh, really? So it doesn't look like you were married to me while married to her, and also dating Jasmine on the side? Because that's what these documents say." Elijah's face crumpled. "Camille, Serena, please just let me explain." "No," I said sharply. "You've done enough explaining for 3 lifetimes. Tonight we're the ones talking." I walked toward him. His back hit the wall. He looked small, weak, pathetic. "Elijah," I said, "you told me your work trips were for a promotion." He nodded quickly. "They were, well, partly. Serena, listen, I was stressed." I cut him off. "You weren't stressed. You were busy flying between Houston and Memphis to keep your second wife entertained." Camille stepped closer too. "And don't forget Birmingham," she added coldly. "You told me Jasmine was just a co-worker, but your text messages say otherwise." Elijah's knees buckled. He sank down slowly until he was sitting on the floor, surrounded by the wreckage of his lies. He covered his face with his hands. "I never meant for it to go this far," he choked. "I love both of you. I got overwhelmed. You don't know what I've been going through." There it was, the victim speech, the broken man routine, the poor me monologue men like him rehearse long before the truth comes out. Camille scoffed. "Oh, I'm so sorry you were overwhelmed by the 3 lives you willingly created. How tragic." Elijah looked up at her with red, watery eyes. "Camille, I swear, I never wanted to hurt you." She leaned down, met his eyes, and said slowly, "You didn't just hurt me. You destroyed me. You let me believe I was your one and only. You let me believe we were building a future. You let me name our son after you." His face collapsed. He whispered, trembling, I know, I'm sorry. I stepped in front of him, forcing him to look up at me. Elijah, I named my son after you too. Do you know what that means? He covered his face again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That word, I said, means nothing to me anymore. As expected, the manipulation phase began. Look, he stammered. Serena, maybe if you were more affectionate, maybe if you didn't work so much, maybe if you... I felt my blood boil. Say it, I said quietly. Say what you're implying. He hesitated. You weren't there emotionally. I felt lonely. Camille stepped forward, eyes blazing. And I suppose I wasn't affectionate enough? That's why you needed Jasmine too? He shook his head desperately. No, I didn't mean it like that. But we weren't buying it. Blaming us was his last pathetic attempt at preserving the ego he built on our backs. Elijah, I said, you didn't cheat because of me. You didn't cheat because of Camille. You cheated because you're a selfish man with no self-control. He started crying then. Actual tears, shoulders shaking, chest heaving. Maybe they were real. Maybe they were crocodile tears. I didn't care either way. Because I no longer saw him as my husband. I saw him as the man who stole 8 years of my life, the man who lied to Camille, the man who manipulated Jasmine, the man who juggled 3 families with the confidence of someone who thought he'd never get caught. Camille stepped forward slowly and crouched in front of him. Elijah, she said softly. I thought she was going to comfort him. Instead, she grabbed his chin and forced him to look at both of us. You had 2 wives, 2 children named after you, 2 families who trusted you, and a girlfriend waiting for you in another state. Her voice shook with anger. You didn't slip. You didn't make a mistake. You built an empire of lies and sat on it like a king. But tonight, your kingdom burns. And she let go of his face. Elijah stared at both of us like he was seeing ghosts. Elijah, I said, standing tall, here's what's going to happen. He lifted his head slowly. You're leaving this house tonight. He blinked. What? You heard me. Get your bag and go. He tried to smile. That soft, charming smile he always used when he wanted to manipulate me. Serena, baby, you don't mean that. I mean every word, I said. And don't call me baby. Camille crossed her arms. And don't think you're going back to Memphis either. I changed the locks. Elijah's eyes widened. You locked me out? Of course, she said calmly. My home is not a hotel, and you are not welcome. He looked between us, panic rising. Where am I supposed to go? I shrugged. Your mother is still alive, isn't she? He stared at me like I had slapped him. But this is my home too. Not anymore. I pointed to the door. Get out. He scrambled to his feet, wiping tears. Serena, please, don't do this. Elijah, I said, and my voice was ice. You already did this. He grabbed a small duffel bag, threw random clothes inside, and walked to the door like a man heading to his own funeral. Before he stepped out, he turned around. Serena, Camille, I love you both. Camille shook her head. No, you don't. You love yourself. And I added, and tonight, your audience is gone. He walked out. We closed the door behind him, locked it, deadbolts and all, and for the first time in years, I felt safe. Not healed, not whole, but safe. Camille and I sank onto the couch, exhausted. Then she whispered, What now? I looked at the evidence spread across the floor and said, Now? Now we take everything from him. Elijah was gone. But his lies? His mess? His betrayals? They were still sitting in my living room like unwanted ghosts. Camille and I sat in silence for a long time, staring at the evidence all over the floor. Every receipt, every message, every hotel booking felt like a bruise on my heart. Finally, Camille exhaled shakily. I feel sick. I nodded. Me too. But beneath the nausea, beneath the heartbreak, beneath the exhaustion, there was something else brewing in my chest. Anger, sharp, focused, controlled, a fire that wasn't going out anytime soon. I leaned back into the couch and whispered, "Camille, Elijah spent years playing us. He spent years building these lies." She looked at me. "And now it's our turn. Before anything else, we had to protect what mattered most. Our children." Camille's son was only 2. My daughter was 7 and my son 5. Too young to understand betrayal. Too innocent to carry their father's sins. We agreed immediately. No yelling in front of the kids, no confrontations around them, no allowing Elijah to confuse them, no emotional manipulation. We would handle everything like 2 grown, intelligent black women, not the screaming drama Elijah probably expected. I texted my mother, "Elijah and I are handling something. Please keep the kids until tomorrow." Her reply came instantly, "Of course, take your time." I didn't have the heart to explain yet. While Elijah was busy crying and fumbling somewhere, Camille and I were busy strategizing. "He committed bigamy," Camille said. "That's a crime." I nodded slowly. "And corporate fraud, that's another crime." Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, you're right." "We're not just dealing with a cheating man," I said. "We're dealing with a man who built his life on illegal choices. We can bury him with facts." We contacted 2 lawyers, one in Texas, one in Tennessee. Both women, both black, both known for being ruthless in court. We sent them everything: the timeline, the receipts, the credit card statements, screenshots, hotel confirmations, corporate card activity, text messages, every single lie he told us. The Texas lawyer called me back within hours. Her voice was calm, steady, lethal. "Serena, what you have here is enough to end his career and drain his bank account at the same time." I smiled for the first time in days. Good. Elijah worked for a pharmaceutical company, one known for clean audits and strict ethics. He was a regional account manager, constantly traveling, or so he claimed, but thanks to the receipts we gathered, we learned. He filed reimbursements for personal trips. He claimed hotel stays that didn't exist. He bought gifts with the corporate card. He padded mileage. He used company funds to visit Jasmine and Camille. He submitted fake meal receipts, and he falsified travel logs. We had everything. Camille and I drafted an anonymous packet, backed by our lawyers, and sent it to his company's compliance department, the CFO, the HR director, and, just to be safe, corporate audit. The package was titled Urgent, Fraudulent Activity by Employee Elijah Ward. It included printed receipts, screenshots, photos, Excel sheets matching his lies with timestamps, locations that proved he wasn't where he said, charges from 3 different states. Once we sealed that envelope, we sat back on my couch. "That's it," Camille whispered. "He's done." I nodded. He wanted 3 lives? He can enjoy unemployment in all 3. The next morning, I filed for divorce. Camille filed her paperwork that same afternoon. 2 states, 2 claims, 2 legal battles coming at him from 2 directions he never saw coming. My filing included custody claim, financial misconduct, emotional distress, fraud, corporate misuse. Camille's included fraud, financial damages, child support, bigamy-related claims. He thought he was juggling 2 wives. Now he was juggling 2 lawsuits, and he was going to drop both. Hard. We debated for days. Should we tell Jasmine? Should we leave her out of it? Would it even matter? But something Camille said hit me. She deserves the truth, too. He stole years from us. He's stealing from her right now. So we didn't message her directly. We didn't threaten her. We didn't insult her. We didn't drag her into drama. We simply forwarded the evidence from a hidden account, receipts, texts, photos, videos, call logs, with one simple line: "He is not who you think he is. Be free before he destroys your life too." We never learned how she reacted, but I hope she chose herself. I hope she left. I hope she didn't wait 8 years like I did. On the 3rd day after he left, my phone rang. His name flashed on the screen. For the first time ever, it didn't hurt. I let it ring twice before answering. His voice was fragile. "Serena, Please, can we talk? I'm losing everything. Camille won't let me see my son. My company put me on leave. My mother is yelling at me. I cut him off. Elijah, we are not the same anymore. You made your bed. He sniffed. You're really doing this to me? No. You did this to yourself. He begged. He cried. He pleaded. He promised he would change. He promised therapy. He promised honesty. I stayed quiet until he finished. Then I said, Elijah, I survived your lies, but I will never survive another one. So I'm choosing myself now. He inhaled sharply. So that's it? After everything we built? You didn't build anything, Elijah. You constructed illusions, and now they're gone. He broke down sobbing. I didn't flinch. When I hung up, Camille texted, Girl, he just tried calling me too. I laughed. Of course he did. He's making his rounds like a politician after a scandal. That night, after the kids were asleep and the house was quiet, I stood in the doorway of my bedroom. The bed looked different now. I used to think it was a place of safety, a place of love, a place of comfort. Now I saw it for what it really was, a place where Elijah lied beside me every night like it was nothing. I sat on the bed slowly, feeling the weight of everything. For the first time in weeks, I didn't cry. Instead, I smiled. A small, tired but genuine smile. Because the moment Elijah walked out of that house, something else walked in. My freedom, my peace, my future. This was not the end of my life. It was the beginning. And the revenge? The revenge was only getting started. The days that followed were strangely peaceful. Quiet mornings, coffee without tension, evenings without wondering where Elijah was or who he was lying to. It was like my home finally exhaled after holding its breath for years. But peace didn't mean stillness. Behind that calm was strategy, patience, and the steady ticking of a bomb Elijah had built with his own hands. And that bomb was about to go off. 4 days after the confrontation, I received an email from his company. A short, icy message. Thank you for your submission. The compliance team has opened an investigation. I forwarded it to Camille. She called me immediately. Serena, he's done. And he was. Because the next morning at 9:27 a.m., Elijah texted me. They suspended me, without pay, pending investigation. Did you do this? I stared at my phone for a full minute, then typed, We didn't do anything you didn't already do to yourself. He didn't reply, but Camille called 10 minutes later, laughing so hard she couldn't breathe. He texted me the same thing, word for word. We weren't surprised. Elijah had one script for all of us. He recycled his lies, his apologies, and now even his panic. Men like him don't know how to be original. 2 days later, I heard a knock on my door. When I opened it, Elijah's mother, Mrs. Ward, stood on my porch. Church shoes, wrinkled dress, Bible in her purse. She looked me up and down with disapproval before saying, Serena, baby, what did you do to my son? I didn't flinch. With respect, Mrs. Ward, what your son did to me would take a whole sermon to explain. She stepped inside without being invited. She always did that. She sat on my couch, smoothed her dress, and said, Elijah told me you're divorcing him, and that you're spreading lies to his job. That girl in Memphis, too. I raised him better than this foolishness. I inhaled slowly. Mrs. Ward, I have evidence. Hundreds of pages of it. She frowned. Elijah said you're confused, that you're emotional, that you're overreacting. Camille, who was staying with me that week, walked downstairs at that exact moment with a stack of papers. Oh, is that what he told you? She said. Mrs. Ward's eyes widened. Who are you? Camille smiled politely. I'm Camille, Elijah's other wife. Mrs. Ward nearly fainted. She clutched her chest and whispered, Sweet Jesus. I handed her the folder. Bank statements, photos, messages, call logs, proof of the 2 families he built. She flipped through the pages, her face draining of color. Elijah, no, she whispered. When she finished, she closed the folder slowly and looked at both of us. Her voice was barely audible. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Lord help me. I didn't know my son was capable of this. Camille softened. We didn't know either. Mrs. Ward wiped a tear and whispered, Whatever you decide to do, he deserves every bit of it. It was the first time she'd ever agreed with me on anything. By the end of the first week, he had no job, no savings. He'd blown most of it maintaining 3 lives. No home, Camille changed her locks too, and no excuses left. He texted me one night, they're talking about pressing charges. Serena, please, I'm begging you, don't let them do this. I typed back, you used company money to cheat. They don't need my help to press charges. Another message, can I please come see the kids? And that one hurt. Not because I missed him, but because I knew our children loved him deeply. But love does not erase danger. So I said, not until the courts decide on visitation. I will not expose them to instability. He replied, I'm their father. I answered, be a father then. Own your consequences like a man. He didn't text again that night. One afternoon, while I was working at my kitchen counter, my email dinged. Unknown sender. I opened it. One line. He told me he loved me. Thank you for saving me. Jasmine attached was a screenshot. Elijah had sent her a long message, blaming me, blaming Camille, saying he was emotionally overwhelmed, claiming he was forced into 2 marriages, asking Jasmine to wait for him, begging her not to leave. I burst out laughing. Camille laughed too. Oh, he's desperate, desperate. I replied simply, you owe us nothing. Be free. Jasmine responded, he will never hear from me again. 3 women freed in 1 week. That's a blessing. By week 2, everything was set. My divorce papers were moving. Camille's case was in motion. Elijah's company was finishing their investigation. The fraud evidence was officially documented. Child support petitions were filed. Custody claims were submitted. Restraining orders were drafted. Our lawyers had everything they needed. All Elijah could do was wait and crumble and drown in the consequences of his own decisions. He tried everything. Sobbing voicemails, long apology texts, blaming his childhood, threatening to take the kids, promising he'd change offering to go to church, claiming he'd kill himself, claiming he'd become a better man. But nothing worked, because crying is not accountability, and guilt is not change, and fear is not love, and because Camille and I weren't those naive, trusting women anymore. We weren't begging for scraps of honesty. We were dealing in truth now. Truth, evidence, and legal consequences. One night, close to midnight, he sent, Serena, I don't even know who I am anymore. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I replied, that's the first honest thing you've said in years. The next morning, Camille and I sat on my back porch drinking coffee. The sun was rising. The world looked peaceful again. For the first time in years, I felt like myself. Camille sighed. Serena, this whole thing could have broken us. I nodded. But it didn't. We're still here, she whispered. We survived. And now, I said softly, we rebuild. She smiled. And Elijah? I smirked. Elijah can rebuild too, in his mother's guest room, with no job, no money, and 2 lawsuits. Camille laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. That's right, she said. He can rebuild his life with honesty for once. He's got nothing left to lie about. We clinked our mugs together. Sisters in survival, she said. Sisters in victory, I corrected. Because this wasn't just survival, it was triumph. It was rebirth. It was the slow, steady reclaiming of a life that belonged to me, not to Elijah, not to his lies, not to his fantasies, to me. The weeks that followed felt like standing in the eye of a storm, calm, controlled, and terrifyingly powerful. Because the storm wasn't around me anymore. The storm was me. And Elijah? He was finally standing in the path of everything he had created. One Tuesday morning, I received another email from his company. Your documentation has been verified. The investigation will conclude within 48 hours. I forwarded it to Camille. She immediately called, whispering like a woman hearing good gossip in church. Serena, he's done. Done. 2 days later, Elijah texted me, "They fired me. Security escorted me out. I lost everything." I read the message twice, then typed, "No, Elijah, you didn't lose everything. You threw everything away." For once, he didn't reply, probably because he knew I was right. When manipulators lose power, they always try one last performance. That's when the phone calls started. His sister, his cousin, his auntie, his uncle, 3 of his friends, all with the same script. "Serena, Elijah is hurting. Serena, he regrets everything. Serena, he says you and that other woman are ruining his life. Serena, God forgives. Why can't you?" I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't send proof. I didn't expose him. I just repeated the same sentence every time. "This is no one's business but mine, Elijah's and the lawyers." Camille and I refused to defend ourselves. We didn't need to. People who know the truth don't waste their breath convincing people who don't want to hear it. Camille thrived. She glowed. She smiled entirely for the first time since I met her. She wore her hair natural and free. She played music in my kitchen while we cooked for our kids. One morning, she walked into my living room smiling faintly. "What's that look for?" I asked. She held up a message on her phone. Elijah had texted, "Camille, I realize now you are the woman I should have built my life with." She handed me the phone. "I didn't even reply," she said proudly. I beamed at her. "That's growth." She nodded. "I don't want a man who has to lose everything before he recognizes my worth." "Yes!" I shouted, clapping like a proud auntie. "That's the bar." She leaned back, eyes gleaming. "I'm done with him, Serena. Not even a piece of me wants him back." She meant it, and I was proud of her. 2 weeks later, I got a court date. Child custody hearing. I knew this day was coming, but it still twisted my stomach. Would he fight dirty? Would he try to punish me through our kids? Would he try to turn everything around on me? When I told Camille, she hugged me. "You got this," she said. "You're the stable one. You're the consistent one. You're the only one with a home." And she was right. My lawyer prepared a folder thicker than a Bible. Proof of Elijah's double life, his corporate fraud, his unemployment, his instability, his emotional manipulation, his absence from the children's events, his financial neglect, his lies. When the day came, I walked into that courtroom with my head high. Elijah looked broken, shirt wrinkled, eyes puffy, hands shaking. He wouldn't even look at me. The judge reviewed the documents. Her expression changed slowly into disappointment. After 20 minutes, she looked at Elijah and said, "Mr. Ward, your behavior shows a severe lack of judgment. Primary custody goes to Mrs. Holloway." A weight lifted off my chest so suddenly I almost cried. Elijah lowered his head. I felt nothing, not triumph, not satisfaction, just peace. Real peace. A week later, Camille had her hearing in Tennessee. She FaceTimed me right before entering the courthouse. "Wish me luck?" she whispered. "You don't need luck," I said. "You have truth." She smiled nervously. After 2 hours, she texted, "He owes child support. He owes restitution. I got supervised visitation, and the judge called him reckless." I screamed out loud in my kitchen. My kids came running. "Mom, are you okay?" "Yes, baby, Mommy is very okay." We danced around the kitchen celebrating Camille's win. One night, while folding laundry, I got an email. It was from Jasmine. "I'm moving out of Birmingham, starting fresh. Thank you for giving me the truth I needed." Attached was a photo. She had packed everything, suitcases, boxes, her cat carrier, and she looked happy, free. I smiled. 3 women, 3 lives, 3 futures saved. All because one midnight call connected us. A week later, Elijah asked to talk in person. "I won't come in," he wrote. "I'll stay outside. I just want 5 minutes." I agreed. For closure. For clarity. For myself. He stood on my front porch wearing the same cologne he always wore, the same jacket I bought him for his birthday. But the man inside the clothes? He was a stranger now. "Serena," he said softly, "you look good." I nodded. I feel good. He swallowed hard. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I ruined my life. I ruined your life. I ruined my kids' lives. I didn't argue. I didn't soothe him. I didn't hug him. Instead, I said quietly, Elijah, you didn't ruin my life. You freed me from the version of you that would have ruined my life eventually. He blinked rapidly, trying not to cry. I just want to know if you hate me. I shook my head. No, Elijah. Hate takes too much energy. I don't hate you. He exhaled in relief, and then I added, I just don't love you anymore. That hit him harder than anything I could have yelled. He stepped back like my words physically pushed him. Then he whispered, Goodbye, Serena. Goodbye, Elijah. He walked away, for real this time. And when I closed the door behind him, it didn't hurt. It felt right. It felt final. It felt like the last page of a book I was never meant to stay in. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine. I turned on soft music, cleaned my home, opened the windows, let the cool Texas air wash through my soul. Then I stood in my living room and whispered, I survived, and now, I rise. I didn't know exactly what my future looked like, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. It would be mine, not shared, not lied about, not stolen, mine. The weeks after Elijah walked off my porch felt like stepping into a new life wearing shoes that finally fit. No tightness, no blisters, no pretending, just freedom. Quiet, steady, healing freedom. But healing isn't a straight line, and even though I felt stronger, the journey wasn't over. Not yet. Because when a woman rebuilds herself after betrayal, she doesn't just repair what was broken. She discovers parts of herself she didn't even know were there. And that's exactly what happened to me. Before I rebuilt my life, I rebuilt my space. The house felt different without Elijah in it. Lighter, brighter, safer. But there were still shadows lingering in the corners. Memories I didn't want. His presence in every room, his fingerprints on everything. So I started purging. Not angry, not emotional, just intentional. I removed his colognes, his razors, his clothes, his shoes, his half-empty deodorant, his framed certificates, his watch collection, the suit he wore to our wedding, the tie he wore to our son's birth, gone. Everywhere he used to be, I reclaimed. I scrubbed the house top to bottom until the walls smelled like lemon, not lies. I bought new curtains, new bedding, new throw pillows, new rugs, a new welcome mat that said, Peace lives here. And for the first time, I believed it. When the kids came home, I kept it simple. No big speeches, no blaming, no poisoning their minds. I just said, Daddy made some choices that mean he won't live here anymore, but he loves you, and we're going to be okay. My daughter, Aaliyah, looked at me thoughtfully. Mommy, you seem happier. I froze. Kids always know. They feel things adults pretend don't exist. I smiled gently. I am happier, baby. Sometimes letting go of something painful makes room for something better. She nodded like she understood far more than a 7-year-old should, and my son crawled into my lap and said, Mommy, I love you. I kissed his forehead. I love you too, baby. And my heart stitched back together a little more. Meanwhile, in Memphis, Camille was flourishing. She'd been interviewing for a promotion she never applied for. Her boss recommended her after she took time off to handle family matters. She started going to therapy weekly. She enrolled her son in a daycare she'd been too scared to try before. One night, she FaceTimed me laughing so hard she could barely speak. A man she had known from college, someone she used to study with, had messaged her out of nowhere. I heard you're single now. Let me treat you like you deserve to be treated. She rolled her eyes and snickered. I'm not jumping into anything. But Serena, the fact that men are seeing me again, women don't understand how betrayal dims you until it's lifted. I grinned. You're glowing, sis. You probably look 10 years younger. I feel 10 years younger, she said proudly. And she did. She looked happy, free, alive again. While we were rising, Elijah was sinking, and not slowly. He texted me one night, I'm behind on rent. Then, I can't get another job. Then, my license might get suspended if I fall behind on child support. Then, Serena, please, don't take everything from me. I stared at the last message for a long moment, because here's the truth. I didn't want to ruin Elijah. I wanted justice, not destruction, but justice and consequences sometimes walk hand in hand. I typed back, I'm not taking anything from you. The court is requesting what you owe your children. No more, no less. He didn't reply. One night, weeks after the dust began to settle, I was getting ready for bed. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet. The moonlight spilled across my bathroom floor. I paused in front of the mirror. For the first time in a very long time, I didn't see pain. I didn't see confusion. I didn't see survival mode. I saw strength, peace, clarity. A woman who walked through hell and didn't burn. I whispered to my reflection, "You did that. You saved yourself." A few days later, I took my kids to the park. They were running around laughing while I sat on a bench, enjoying the Texas sun. A man approached with his daughter, tall, clean-cut, warm smile, solid energy. He sat on the next bench and nodded politely. After a few minutes, he said, "Your kids are adorable. What are they, 7 and 5? I smiled. "Yes, good guess." He chuckled. "I have a 5-year-old too. That's her. Purple shirt, attempting to be a gymnast." His daughter was indeed dangling upside down from the monkey bars like she was auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. We laughed. He extended his hand. "I'm Andre." "Serena," I said. His smile deepened. "Pretty name. You live nearby?" "Yes. You?" "Just moved here," he said, trying to give my daughter a fresh start. Something softened in my chest. A fresh start. I knew that concept intimately. Andre wasn't flirting. He wasn't pushing. He wasn't prying. He was just kind, human, the kind of man who doesn't drain a room. He adds warmth to it. We talked for 20 minutes. Nothing romantic, nothing tense. Just two single parents comparing tips about bedtime routines, school drop-off, picky eating, playground injuries, cartoons. It felt normal. Safe. When his daughter ran over, he stood. "It was nice meeting you, Serena." "You too." He hesitated, then said, "If you ever want company at the park again, we'll be around." He smiled, waved, and left. I didn't read into it. I didn't fantasize. I didn't panic. I just breathed, a soft, gentle breath. Because for the first time since the 3 a.m. phone call that changed everything, I saw the possibility of something new, not a replacement, not a distraction, not a fairy tale, just possibility. And possibility is powerful. Her voice came through the phone, bright and excited. "Girl, I got good news." "Camille," I interrupted, "I think I might be healing." She went quiet. Then softly, "Serena, that's the best news of all." We talked for hours. 2 women, 2 survivors, 2 stories intertwined by betrayal, and now connected by rebirth. When we hung up, I lay in bed smiling. Not because of Andre, not because of the future, not because of revenge, but because of me, because I had finally stepped out of the shadow Elijah built and returned to myself, the most powerful version of me. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small moments. Quiet shifts, little victories that stack until one day you wake up and realize, you've changed. That's what happened to me. As the weeks rolled by, I found myself smiling more, laughing more, sleeping deeper, breathing easier. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again, and that alone was priceless. One Tuesday afternoon, my lawyer called. "Serena, Elijah missed his first child support payment." I sighed. Of course he did. Men like Elijah always assume consequences won't apply to them. "What happens now?" I asked. "We give him a grace period. If he misses again, we escalate." 2 days later, Elijah texted, "They froze my checking account. What am I supposed to do?" I stared at the message, feeling nothing. Not guilt, not pity, not anger, just neutrality. I typed back, "Get a job." He replied instantly, I can't. My reputation is ruined. Your lawyer made me look like a monster. I answered, You made yourself look like a monster. She just provided the mirror. He didn't reply again. While Elijah was spiraling, Camille's life blossomed in ways neither of us expected. She sent me a photo one morning, her in a sleek black blazer, hair styled beautifully, makeup flawless. Under it, the caption, "First day in my new position, promotion officially confirmed." I screamed in my kitchen. My kids ran in thinking something happened. "Mommy, you okay?" "I'm more than okay." I FaceTimed Camille immediately. She answered with her office badge swinging around her neck. "Girl, I did it." "You did it," I echoed proudly. "You earned it. Elijah didn't break you. He built the woman who got this job." Her smile softened. "Serena, you helped me survive. I wouldn't have made it through without you." "Sis," I said gently, "we saved each other." And we did. A few days later, I went grocery shopping. As I was checking out, my cashier, a middle-aged woman with bright red glasses, looked at me and said, "You're glowing, sweetheart." I laughed. "Am I?" She nodded. "Whatever you left behind, you needed to." My eyes widened in surprise. "How did you—" She smiled knowingly. "Women can always tell?" That simple comment stayed with me for the rest of the day, because healing looks like glowing, even when you don't realize it yet. It was a Friday morning. I was cleaning out the hallway closet when someone knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, Elijah stood there. My breath froze, not from fear, but from surprise. He looked different. Not sharply dressed, not cologne-scented, not confident. Just a man, tired, lost, holding a single envelope. "Serena," he said quietly, "can I talk to you for a moment?" I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. He didn't deserve access to my home anymore. "What do you want?" His voice cracked. I need 5 minutes. I won't cause trouble. I promise." Against my better judgment, but guided by closure, I nodded. He handed me the envelope. Inside were pay stubs from a part-time warehouse job, a child support payment receipt, a letter he had written by hand. He watched my face nervously. "I'm trying," he whispered. "I know it doesn't fix anything. I know I can't undo what I did, but I'm trying." I read the letter. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't manipulation. It was accountability. Every page said the same thing in different ways. I was wrong. I was selfish. I hurt you. You didn't deserve it. You were a good wife. I didn't value what I had. I'm sorry. My actions weren't your fault. You were never the problem. My choices were mine alone. I folded the letter and handed it back gently. "Elijah, thank you for this. Truly." He exhaled shakily, like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. "So, do you think someday you could forgive me?" I stared at him, a long, quiet moment, then said softly, "I already did." His eyes widened, hopeful, but I wasn't done. "And forgiveness," I continued, "doesn't mean reunion, it means release." He nodded slowly, crying quietly. He finally understood. This wasn't a pause. This wasn't a break. This was the ending. A clean, necessary ending. He wiped his face. "Goodbye, Serena. Goodbye, Elijah." He walked away, this time. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel anger. I felt closure. A door finally closing, a wound finally sealing, a chapter finally ending. That evening, after putting my kids to bed, I poured myself a glass of wine. I lit a candle, put on soft music, ran a hot bath with lavender, and I whispered to myself, "You made it. You're free. You're whole." For the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Not because of Elijah, not because of revenge, not because of the past, but because I had built a life outside of pain. A life I deserved. A life I owned. It was simple, friendly, respectful. "Hey, Serena, it was nice seeing you at the park last week. I'll be there tomorrow with my daughter if you and your kids want to join." I smiled. Not because I was ready, not because I needed a man, not because I wanted love again, but because life was reminding me, healing opens doors you didn't even know were locked. I replied, "We'll be there." Not a promise, not a commitment, just possibility. And that was enough. A few months passed, enough time for the dust to settle, enough time for wounds to turn into scars, enough time for the woman I used to become someone I finally recognized again, someone I was proud of. Life wasn't perfect, but it was honest, and in a world full of people like Elijah, honesty felt like luxury. And slowly, very slowly, my life started to bloom. It started small. A friend of mine owned a boutique marketing firm and needed help with project coordination. I took on a few consulting projects just to keep my mind busy, but something unexpected happened. I fell in love with the work, creating strategy, managing clients, building ideas from scratch. It made me feel capable again, powerful, intelligent, worthy. Before long, referrals started rolling in. Camille would call me and say, "Girl, my boss needed someone and I bragged on you so hard they want a meeting." I laughed every time. My client list grew, my income grew, my confidence grew. I registered my own LLC, named it Holloway Consulting and Company, sleek, clean, professional, and the day I got my first real office space, a tiny room with beige walls and a cheap desk, I cried, not because of the room, but because of the journey it took to get there. I whispered, "Elijah didn't break you. He cleared the path for you." Camille was thriving too. She got her promotion. She enrolled her son in a better daycare. She joined a gym. She bought herself new clothes. She even cut her hair into a fierce shoulder-length bob that made her look like a CEO in the making. One night she texted me a picture of herself, a fitted dress, red lipstick, confidence glowing through the screen. Caption, "First date in years. Wish me luck, sis." I screamed into my pillow. She later told me, "He's kind, he listens, he shows up. He told me he's not here to replace anyone, he just wants to build with me." I grinned. That's what love is supposed to feel like. She sighed. "I never would have believed I deserved this if I hadn't survived Elijah." Sometimes pain clears space for blessings. Andre wasn't a whirlwind. He wasn't intense. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't overwhelming. He was steady, warm, soft-spoken, respectful, present. We saw each other at the park every few days. Our kids played together like they'd known each other for years. We talked about school events, grocery store struggles, bedtime negotiations, single parenting dreams, fears healing, nothing heavy, nothing romantic, just connection. One Saturday morning while our kids ran around on the playground, he sat beside me and said, "I don't want to cross any lines, but if you're ever open to it, I'd like to take you to dinner." I didn't panic. I didn't overthink. I didn't feel pressure. I just breathed and said honestly, "I'm not ready yet." He nodded gently. "I'm not in a rush, Serena. Whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'm here." Not needy, not pushy, not manipulative, just patient. And patience is a love language all its own. Meanwhile, Elijah's life stabilized, but not in the way he imagined. He kept the warehouse job. He stayed with his mother. He attended court-ordered counseling. He stayed consistent with payments. And every few weeks through our parenting app, he'd send a simple message, "Kids doing okay? Let me know if they need anything. I'll send the payment Friday." No drama, no fighting, no manipulation, just minimal responsibility, something he should have done from the beginning. He wasn't the same Elijah. Not the charming one, not the arrogant one, not the fantasy-building one. He was a quieter version, a smaller version, a humbled version, and I was no longer angry, not because he deserved grace, but because holding on to hate would mean he still owned part of me. And he doesn't, not anymore. It was a Sunday morning. The kids were drawing. The house smelled like cinnamon pancakes. Music played softly in the background. Sunlight filled the kitchen. And suddenly, I felt it. A peace so complete, so gentle, so quiet that it made my eyes well up. Not from sadness, from gratitude. I had survived betrayal. I had escaped lies. I had rebuilt a home. I had founded a business. I had chosen myself. I whispered, "You did it, Serena. You really did it." Camille called me one evening, her voice soft. "Serena, I just wanted to say thank you." "For what?" I asked. "For being the sister I didn't know I needed, for not blaming me, for surviving beside me, for letting us heal together." I smiled. "You helped me survive, too." She sniffled a little. "I want to tell you something. I'm engaged." My jaw dropped. "What? To who?" She laughed through tears. "The man from college, the one who reached out. He treats me like I'm the only woman in the world. He makes me feel safe, Serena. Really safe." My heart swelled. "Camille, you deserve every bit of this." "So do you," she said quietly. "Maybe someday," I thought. Maybe. One evening, the kids begged to go to the park again. As we walked up to the playground, I saw Andre sitting on a bench, reading something on his phone while his daughter played. He looked up, saw us, smiled, a warm, deep smile that reached his eyes. My daughter ran toward the swings. My son joined Andre's daughter at the slide, and Andre walked toward me with his hands in his pockets, nervous but hopeful. "Hey, Serena." "Hey." He exhaled softly. "I know you're healing. I know you've been through a lot. So I want you to know, there's no pressure. But if you ever do feel ready, I'd be honored to take you out." I looked at him, really looked at him. This wasn't Elijah. This wasn't a man full of secrets. This wasn't a man juggling lies. This was a man showing up with honesty, with gentleness, with respect. And for the first time, I felt a quiet yes inside me. Not a big one, not a loud one, but a soft one. A beginning. I smiled at him. "I think, someday soon, I might be ready." He smiled back, slow, warm, patient. "I'll be right here." The sun began to set behind the playground as our kids laughed together. Life wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful, because I finally understood the truth didn't break me. It freed me. The betrayal didn't end my story. It rewrote it. And this was only the beginning of the life I was meant to live, a life built on truth, a life built on peace, a life built on strength. My name is Serena Holloway. I survived a man's double life. I rebuilt from the ashes. I chose myself. And now I'm thriving. Did you feel this story, Queen? If you did, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful life stories. And remember, you deserve truth, peace, and a life that loves you back. See you in the next one. Stay strong.